Alright, so that's my push day ticked off for just over 1 week out. I'm 1 week out now. I recorded that yesterday, but I thought I'd just take you through a little bit of a push session as to how I approach it at 1 week out, and I'll run through the session itself here and what I did. So every exercise was one working set, right? So yesterday I always start with a decline crunch for abs. I do abs at the start of every single session, and it's worked really well. I've been doing that for the past year now, and my abs are definitely more defined, harder, deeper cut, and they recover so well. The fact that you can do them every single session, you don't need to worry about recovery really with abs, just because they're just that muscle group that just recovers all the time, I find. So I literally train them like 3 days on a trot, have a rest, 2 days on, one off, and then 3 on again. Sometimes I did find in the off season they would get sore, like after the second day, so I'd potentially skip that third day. But ultimately, most of the time you can train them fucking daily. And if you want thick abs, you want thick, deep cut abs, to the point at which they are visible through a layer of fat as well, training them often is definitely a must. But yeah, so first exercise, decline crunch, not shown in the session. First push exercise was cable overhead tricep extensions. Didn't show that, but then I got into seated dumbbell lat raises. Wait, did I show that? Did I record that? Yeah, I did. Seated dumbbell lat raises, pec deck, one set. So seated dumbbell lat raises, I did 20 kilos for 12 reps. Pec deck, I did 112.5 for 12 reps. Actually, I'm going to tell you if these were progressions or regressions as well. So the dumbbell lat raise, I actually got 20 kilos for 12. That is a PB. According to my app, that is an all-time 12 rep PB at 1 week out. That's impressive, in my opinion. Pec deck, 112.5 kgs for 12 reps. That was matched from last week and the week before, so that's good going. Mid incline Smith press, 100 kilos for 10 reps. Again, matched for the 2 previous weeks. And then my Life Fitness flat press. I really like that machine. It feels real nice. I feel like I can get a deep stretch. It helps me keep my elbows tucked in as well. Whereas sometimes I find those flat presses, they're a little bit like tricep-y. But that Life Fitness is really good. I got 77.5 kilos for 10 reps. That was an increase in weight from last week, but I dropped 2 reps on that. So about the same. And then we went into the close grip Smith press, which was 100 kilos for 10 reps. That was an increase in weight, but lost 3 reps from 90 kilos the week before. And then what was that? And then we did single arm machine lat raise. I did 61 kilos for 15 reps. That is an all-time 15 rep PB. I remember the form is not like, it was more like of a pumpy style of set rather than that. Rather than the first dumbbell lat raise I did. Ultimately, there's no point doing 2 lat raises in a session. You might as well just do 1 and then have more volume in that actual exercise itself rather than split them up. But if I do end up having 2 of the same movements, so like a single arm lat raise and a dumbbell lat raise, I've changed it. I've changed 1 for a single arm, maybe a little bit more focus on the single delt. I think there has been studies to say that single arm stuff produces more hypertrophy, fucking minuscule. But ultimately I'll change the style of how I do the movement. So if I'm doing, like I said, if I do a seated dumbbell lat raise, it'll be very controlled, hold at the top, control that on the way down. And then if I do a dumbbell lat raise later in a session or a machine lat raise later in a session, I'll do like that pumpy style. I'll like stay in the active range. And with that machine lat raise that I showed at the end, it's very, the resistance profile is very much in that bottom portion where you're most stretched. The most amount of weight is through that bottom position there. So if you're coming right at the top, the weight drops off, whereas you come down the bottom, you can feel it. It's a lot heavier in that bottom lengthened range. Yeah, so I got 61 kilos for 15, which is a PB. And then we did the rope push down, which I got 25 kilos for 12 reps, which was matched. And that's the word. That's all she wrote. But yeah, that's my push session. Hope you enjoyed. Not much going on really right now. So I'm 1 week out today, which means food is what the way we're approaching this peak week is. I just let my coach do everything, right, and I just question him like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? What are we doing? What are we expecting to see? I we're not going with like 2 or 3 like actual high carb days. We're not like depleting into the show and then loading up. We're just increasing baseline, which I like that approach because we're just assessing the look day by day, giving me more carbohydrates day by day and seeing what the look like. Like yesterday, we've increased carbohydrates for the past 3 days. My body weight is pretty much stable. Which is a good thing, but also we're looking for body weight to increase probably 2 to 3 pounds and to see a little bit more fullness. Personally, I think I look generally full anyway. It's just a case of how hard can we push that to the point. Like, we've not spilled at all in this entirety of the prep, and I've had high days pretty much every single week of like onward and upwards of 2,000 grams of carbs across 3 days. That was the most I had, 2,000 grams of carbs over 3 days, and it didn't even spill. I still looked flat after those 3 days. So I think the ability to push fullness is definitely there and definitely a lot higher than we probably imagine. But in the respect of playing it safe, because we don't want to blur condition at all, increasing baseline and just allowing the body to soak up the carbohydrates and freshen up and not have to do cardio, not have to worry about steps, too much, is great. It's working, and it also keeps gut volume down and gut load. Like, my digestive system is getting less force put on it, less strain put on it from like a massive carbohydrate day going in, which is nice. And then it just allows the gut to process the food rather than just sat in there. This fucking top is so tight. Vinted dry fit. I need some clothes that were just like dry fit, and this was before I actually got the affiliation with Vanquish, so I was just looking for some shitty cheap night tops. But Vanquish have some really good gear because it's so thin. It's literally like this dry fit stuff. So if you are looking for some good clothing, go on to Vanquish, use code Jack15 at checkout. And I'm not just like a fucking walking advertisement. I would only work with a brand that I can get behind and a brand that I actually use and think highly of. And Vanquish's clothing is really good. Like, the quality is really nice. It's thin, it's gym wear, it's street wear, which is my sort of style anyway. And I'm wearing a compression tee in the push session, by the way, which is not usually my style, but I thought I'd fucking go for it. I felt like a bit of a fucking knob. Like, it comes across as a bit like egotistic and a bit like, look at me. So anyway, yeah, where was I? What was I talking about? I think that was about it, really. We'll wrap it up there. Yeah, that was it. I was talking about the high days were nice. So we're just trickling food in up to the show. And then the day before and the day of will be very low food to allow the gut to clear out, glycogen stores to hold tight, and just keep the midsection in. Boom, boom, boom. So we're looking nice and clean on stage and not distended through the guts. Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and hopefully you're following along the prepperino. I am actually thinking about getting a new camera. I'm thinking about getting the Sony, is it the Sony EV10 II, which is like the standard for gym content creation. But it would set me back, the whole setup, including the lens, would probably set me back about $1,000. Business expense, right? Just fucking put it through the business, tax free. Yeah, we'll see. I would love a new camera, and I don't know if that's just prep talking, because when you get in prep, you get this dopamine from buying things and thinking about things to buy. Like, I don't know what it is. There's something about prep where you're just obsessed with getting quick fixes of dopamine. Maybe it's because you're stressed. Maybe it's because cortisol is high, and it's a way of releasing in a way of sort of stress release. Yeah, so I'm always on my phone, always checking through my Instagram, fucking reading messages, replying to comments, etc. So if you're on my TikTok and you're like, fucking hell, this guy is like on it with the comments, it's because I'm in prep. When I'm in off season, I'll probably be ignoring most of you. But yeah, I'm going to wrap that up there. I hope you enjoyed this session, and yeah, speak soon. Jack 15 at the checkout for Vanquish for some sick clothing, and keep an eye out, because if I get a new camera, my content game is going to go whoosh, 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 to the moon. See you later.